Church?
Get church right here at Canonsburg UP Church. Lord, help us get church at Canonsburg UP Church, where we will teach you and love you and introduce you to somebody that you will gladly put in an envelope
Wednesday
and mail to Tahiti.
We're here with the little kid today.
It's Wednesday, September the
18th.
18th.
Towards 19th.
2024.
Yep.
And
all day.
This is the Reverend Don Coleman. This is my friend Al Barker.
And this is the little kid, Kenton Klink.
I'm the child, Kenton Klink, just the piano player.
Just the piano. I'm a little dressed up today.
Yeah, you are.
I'm the reason for us being a little late.
Look, he has a tie on.
Yeah.
He wears a tie for the video, of course. Okay, he wears a tie.
For the two people, it's hot. For the two people who watch live.
Well, they don't know when to watch live today.
Exactly.
Oh, they know.
Yeah.
I
actually just saw one of the people who watches live.
At where you were?
Yeah, I was conducting a funeral.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, wonderful. I mean, really. So,
sometimes funerals can be wonderful, and sometimes they're depressing.
Yes.
For some people, and some people.
91-year-old Ruth Weaver Smith. It was a joy. I had met her a few times, not too much. She wasn't a member of our church. She was a member of a church that she'd moved to Brookline years ago, but we have family in our church. And mercy, she had a friend who got up there.
Really?
And shared.
Was she?
She had made this friend later in her life. Done a ton of traveling with her.
Oh.
And she just, oh my goodness, just all these great things. And then her great niece gets up and 2 pages in the tiniest font. I'm looking over it, I'm like, goodness, how are you reading that? But just effusive with her love and praise. And so it was just wonderful to be a part of that. Anyway, that's why
her friend that she made later in life,
Patty.
How old was she?
Not as old.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess 70s, 80s.
Okay.
Something like that. I mean, she was older, definitely.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's really nice at a funeral when people can get up and reminisce about the person.
Well, especially for a 90-year-old
and their friendship together and all that.
Because a 90-year-old, I know it's routine in this church that you think that because they were well known in our times, that people would show up for their funeral, but that's not always the case. That if they're up in their 90s, they've already buried their friends.
A lot of times, yeah. And it's not like there weren't gads and gads of contemporays there.
Right.
But there was a lot of family.
Did you eat?
There were some friends. No, I came right here.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, no, they're at another local establishment right now.
Oh, eating? And you opted to miss out on
my commitment was
Dawn,
because I knew someone was going to cry and whine if I didn't do that. So.
Yeah, those people out there were crying and whining.
They probably weren't. They're very happy with their family.
It wouldn't be the little kid over there.
No, it wouldn't be. No.
Alvin.
Speaking of friends.
Yes.
You gave us homework to do.
I did. I asked a question. I thought, okay, when is a time in your life where a community, friends, have been a particular help?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You didn't just ask us something. You gave us homework. You gave us a handout last week.
I did give you an article to read.
Hey, listen, read this over and think about it all week long. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about it next week.
Okay, all right. You want to start there, or do you?
Well, it's about friendship. So this article basically said that depending on your education level, you may have people that typically are more educated have more close friends in their lives than people that are less educated. And come to think about it, and sometimes that's hard to grasp because you know people in both categories that are on the other side of that curve, but generally that's probably a good case. And I was thinking all this week about what makes a friend. I mean, how do you I think about the best friends that I have in my life, and what what caused them to become my best friend, and so what's different about what's my education level got to do with how they became my friends and what caused them to be best friends and to be lifelong friends.
Why, Alvin? You put a lot of thought into this.
Well, it was interesting because this past weekend on Saturday I played in a golf tournament, and it was my foursome.
Yep.
It was Al Barker's foursome. It was a friend of mine from high school that came all the way up from Austin, Texas. Very good friend of mine.
Well, that's
A
right.
very good friend of mine from college. It was my best buddy, and he was the best man at my wedding. And also another best friend of mine that I met in my professional life, and I've known him for 40 years since I've been working.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Did they all get along?
And they all got along. I seated us in the golf carts appropriately because I was worried about two of them.
Who and who? Yeah, I forgot that we talked about that.
The two of them, do they know each other?
Well, they all know about each other, and
Okay.
some of them have met each other before. They've all met each other, but it's been years or for very short periods of time.
The two that you didn't set up, let me guess, was it an Eagles and a Cowboys fan? Is that what it was? Something like that?
No,
They cheer for the wrong teams and you didn't want them to have to split up a fist fight.
Some people
That's what-
just have different attitudes and think. Not all my friends think the same way or do the same things, and
They don't
just
need to.
different personalities,
Yep,
and
yep.
maybe their personalities clash a little bit over
yeah.
time. Not that it was going to be a problem, but it was interesting.
One of them likes wine, the other one likes beer, and that could mix the
Well,
wrong way.
you know, I had a
There you
long
go.
conversation with one of my friends yesterday over lunch,
Ooh.
who was putting people out of her life for their beliefs. And I said, and I was called closed-minded for not accepting her belief, and I was like, now who's being closed-minded? But it's funny that comes up like that because, you know, some people don't value a friend, or friends come and go and they don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Friends mean more to me than that.
Well, it's how you meet the friends. I mean, you run into somebody new you meet someday, and someone along the way. I met somebody, and we just had similar aspirations. We had similar views on different things. We liked the same girls. I don't know.
The
Just,
exact same girl?
that wasn't the case, but I'm just saying, friends, just different ways you might meet somebody.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's under the abnormal circumstances. Sometimes it's just in they were classmates or roommates or just, two of the guys are musicians, and I am attracted by musicians.
Yeah.
I appreciate people who can play, and I appreciate Kenton. I mean, that's one of the things that attracted me to Kenton when I first started
too.
coming to this church was his talents on the piano,
Oh.
and I knew that I was going to appreciate his talents.
You're a musician, too.
And I do a little bit.
Not
I
the
mean,
same, we're not
my
the
buddy
same.
Doug and I, when we were in high school, we used
Yeah.
to go. He's a preacher's kid, and we used to go to his church and another church in the Methodist church in town. And back then, the churches were wide open, and we
Yeah.
could just walk into we knew where the light switch was at,
Yeah.
and we knew the preacher, and he didn't care if we came in, and the acoustics in the sanctuary were great, and I'd play the piano, and he'd play the guitar, and we'd sit there for hours just talking and playing.
Nice.
It was
Nice.
good.
That's cool. By the way, you think Kenton's good on the piano. You should hear him on the triangle.
Yeah.
On the
Oh,
triangle.
my goodness.
You've never heard me on the triangle.
Oh,
See-
you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
But one of my other friends in college, I met Linda, my wife, I used to go over to her dormitory and play the piano down in a room off
I
the
picked up
lobby
people
of,
like that all the
of
time.
of her dormitory.
That's how you got her, isn't it?
That was one of the ways that she was attracted to me, and but my my friend that lived on the same floor as him, he used to make fun of me because I would go over and play the piano.
Piano players do well.
Here's the James Taylor guy. Yep. He likes Dan Fogelberg, and he still to this day teases me about liking.
Who's laughing now?
Yeah.
Married to Linda for how many years?
But friends learn.
Linda, your queen.
Friends, I find, can just abuse each other and not, in a nice way, and they understand when the other person is serious and not serious, and you have to learn to just throw it off your shoulder and not let it affect you. Where some people, you say something. Yeah. And they take it personally, and they go, "Well, I don't know if I want to talk to you anymore."
It's really funny how people decide that on the spot. Yeah. But what are you going to do?
But it takes two. I mean, you have to be able to communicate with that person, and that person has to be able to communicate. It can't. Friendship isn't a one-way street.
It shouldn't be.
It takes because, I mean, there's plenty of people that you've tried to communicate with, and they don't communicate back, and you lose track of them, and they go away. And they could, if they communicated, you could be lifelong friends. Yep. But it's a
has to be reciprocated.
Friendship has to be reciprocated.
Well, and the other thing about currently is that we do so much communicating through a device now, and not face to face, like we are right now with each other, and even that way. But at least we're face to face.
We're face to face.
We're not words on a page or.
But I say that things like Facebook has helped friendships out because, I mean, I've got other high school people. We go to a reunion and I can see. Yeah. If I'm friends with them now, I haven't talked to them except maybe when I went to a class reunion 10 years ago. But I see what they're doing.
Right.
They see what I'm doing. Sometimes you comment on, "Wow, that's a pretty cool trip," or "Wow, I can't believe you made that," or something that they post, and it helps to keep sort of. I mean, they're still friends, and if you ran into them, you'd have a lot to talk about. But you don't communicate all the time. But just knowing what they're doing and them knowing what you're doing helps friendship.
It does.
So that's why I don't understand the difference between being educated or not educated.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think in the article that we read, I think part of it was that whole divide but part of it was just the whole loss, because both, categories, since 1990, the drop in close friendships was significant. The rise in the number of people who said they didn't have a single close friend, like that to me was heartbreaking, shocking.
For example, the statistic was in 1990, the amount of close friends that an average person had was 6, very, very close friends. And in 2020, the number is 1 or 2.
Yeah. And the number of
very close friends.
And the number of people who had none, it was in the single digits in 90. And now it was like 16 and 24%. So like a fifth or a quarter of people don't have a single one.
Well, if you're married, you always have your spouse as a friend.
Some people don't.
Well, but at least that's accessibility.
Have you met a lot of married? I've met a lot of married people who I don't think they're friends.
Well, my experience.
You mean the two people that are married?
Yeah, I don't think they're friends.
I get it.
Heartbreaking.
I get it. But as always being the
nobody on
fifth wheel.
It depends on what day you come and meet Linda and I.
Always being the fifth wheel at some place.
What kind of family is that in?
Well, no, I mean out socially.
Maybe the third wheel.
Fifth wheel, third wheel, whatever. Always being that, it's that. For example, that I don't like wedding receptions because the aloneness that I feel amongst a crowd of people, especially a wedding reception, it's amazing. It keeps me away from it.
So why did you cry when I didn't invite you to Steve's?
Well, because I had a chance to, and I knew people there.
But know this. It's the same for someone. I'm not going to speak for Al, but I'm kind of. I think it's the same for someone who is married, who's there by themselves. I don't enjoy doing those kinds of things on my own either.
Well, right. I mean,
So-
I'm just saying is that the level of commitment that I may have for my friend may be different from yours and Al's, only because that friend might be
Is
needed
all you
more,
have.
or it might be needed more.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You
So
know,
let me.
I always think if I'm going down the highway and I get a flat tire, or if I run out of gas, who am I going to call?
Ghostbusters.
Right. But I don't. That's
have
my
their
thing.
number.
Is that I don't have Ghostbusters' number.
So
You're right. For example, if I don't like going out of town because I'm there by myself. I don't know anybody, and I can't. If I'm in a hotel, I go down to the restaurant or the bar.
Right.
I'll have a beer, and I can't just strike up a conversation with the person sitting next to me. I'm not very good at me. But if I go out of town and I'm with Linda and we go down there, we can. It seems like we spark up a conversation
Sure.
with whoever we're sitting next
Sure.
to. I go with my friend Phil. We go out of town together sometimes, and we go down to a bar, and we're talking to everybody in the
Yeah.
place. And but I can't do it by myself. But
No.
you got somebody else there with you, a friend, and it just makes things so much easier.
Yeah.
it happened to me once. I am not the bar guy.
No,
I do
I'm
not
not
want to. You know, if I'm gonna have a drink, it's like I'll take my drink and walk off. But I did once.
Or at a conference, you know.
Yeah,
same,
no, that's
same
what I'm
sort
saying.
of
Like,
thing, yeah.
I was away. I went to a restaurant. The only opportunity was to sit at the bar because it was all full. I was only getting a drink, no food, because I'd already eaten, and it was super awkward. But within a short order of time, I ended up striking up a conversation with the couple that were next to me. And actually, it was delightful. We were laughing and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
We had so many things in common. It was really fun.
Yeah.
But that was, comfort zone. That was way out. That was not.
Yeah, me too.
Not my
That
normal.
happened one
But
time.
who
I-
started the conversation?
I don't
Did
remember.
they start it, or
Yeah,
did you
it was.
start
It was a little bit. They probably said something. I responded, but I was hoping like, okay, that's it. And then it kept going eventually. But it was natural. It was good.
One time, the wife and I were in Palm Springs, and we were going to a fancy restaurant, and there was a line. And luckily, in Palm Springs, so everybody's over 1,000 years old there. But luckily, there
You
was
fit
like
in well, didn't you?
yeah. Well, this was 10 years ago, so I wasn't 1,000 yet. But there was like a waiting room where you could sit down.
A waiting room.
A place to wait, rather than stand. You could
Yeah.
sit. So I sat down, and my wife sat next to me, and I sat down to what was then an older woman.
Next to, yeah.
Yeah. And I had gotten a drink just to be like everybody else. So I sit down beside this woman, and she said, "Excuse me, what is that you're drinking?" And I told her, and that struck up the conversation that lasted. We had dinner with them.
Oh.
Yeah, and here he was the CEO of Costco.
Oh.
And
Wow.
Palm Springs was their winter residence. Summer they did up in, I think it was Oregon or something like
All
that.
right.
But we thought we were going to get our dinner paid for it. No such luck. But what a conversation, or what an evening over. What is that you're drinking?
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? This is not the question I'd asked, but it fits in with something else. The risk that you take in that moment, right? To be willing to have a conversation, it's amazing that risk pays off.
Yeah.
And you
most
end up
most of the time.
most of the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're on a bus or on an airplane. You're sitting next to somebody you don't know, and if you take the initiative to just
Yeah.
try to, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But it's amazing how many times you can get a conversation
Yeah.
going. And if
Down
you do,
Miami.
man, the flight goes by in 2 seconds if
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
a conversation going.
Down Miami, I was sitting by myself one day having breakfast, and I could hear the couple. Couldn't see them, just could hear them, believe it or not. And I could hear them talking, and they ended up. They were just in South Beach for the night because they were going to go on a cruise. So I could hear them talk to each other what to do in here for a day. And I turned around and said, well, the beach and eat. And
You gave them a list.
yeah, I did. And so we got to talking, and they were from Erie. And PA, yes. And I said, all I said was, I'm from Canonsburg. And the gentleman spoke right up and said, I know exactly where that is. He said, I pass it on 79 all the time. So we chatted about what was to do. And I said, stay around. Don't go back to your hotel. Stay around for the lights to come up so you can see the neon and see how pretty it is. And it is. But we talked at length that day. They were nice people.
So, all right. So this is a good lead in then, because the story that I was going to share, it's going to come out in email. So if you get the email, you can. But you missed it because you were away at the game. You were there for it, but you don't know the whole story. So Saturday we had men's breakfast, and about, I don't know, there were enough for 2 tables. So
11.
Not as
I
many.
counted.
Oh, Ken counted 11. Not as many as normal. We had a bunch of people traveling and different things. Anyway, so we get to breakfast and we eat. Right? We sang some songs. We had a little devotional.
Yep.
And the devotional led into a conversation about kind of waiting on God and different things. And somebody spoke up. This is somebody who is a friend of one of our church members, invited neighbor, and comes regularly.
Yep.
But and they said, I want to let you guys know. I don't remember how he said it exactly, but on Friday I lost my job. And it wasn't like I did anything. It sounded like
No,
a
he said
downturn
yesterday.
in the company.
Yeah.
And so lost my job. And he just went on to say, basically, I'm not worried, but I was out in the backyard and I was taking some time of quiet and solitude and just kind of praying and trusting in God. And so that was just kind of part of the conversation.
Just part of it,
Just
too.
part of it. So things go on. We close up. Another person speaks up to me and they say, that our company is hiring. In fact, we just hired somebody, and before their what is it? Their
period. Probation.
Probationary period, they already got elevated. Like we need people, and they said I need to go. I need to go talk to them because maybe. Well, this is Saturday. Sunday goes by. Monday goes by. 2:30 in the afternoon, I get a text message from our friend, and he says, he came in at 9 o'clock, brought in his resume. Before I even got to him, the owner of the company, or my boss, I don't remember, met with him. All of a sudden turns into a tour. All of a sudden turns into an interview. All of a sudden turns into an offer that he has accepted.
Wonderful.
72 hours later.
Wonderful.
And what I think is cool is our friend church member here says, if he hadn't come in to the breakfast,
We would have never been.
if he hadn't mentioned,
If he hadn't started the breakfast
And that
a
was
year
a, bi-
ago.
that was
Yeah,
a
that
big
too.
thing for him to say
to
to people he doesn't even know.
not everybody he
Yeah.
knows there, say I lost my job. This never would have been brought up. He could have gone in there, could have come in,
Although
lost his
that-
job, didn't say anything.
That's the same gentleman who, I don't know, maybe, not this past meeting, but maybe the meeting before, the meeting before that, was questioning our faith on how could it be so strong, and he wanted to find that. He wanted to find that trust that we carry, and the outpouring of love from the other group of men towards him that day was like, "We'll help you. We'll do it. You need to talk.
Awesome.
Yeah."
So very encouraging. So I thought both the risk side of it, but then also the community.
Yep.
And here's this group of guys, and it's not always the same guys. Obviously, you weren't there. I haven't been the last two. But this community of guys who can share and encourage each other and support each other, it's what a gift. And that led me to the question of, where have you, let's put that aside. Let's put this men's breakfast aside. Where's another time, place in your life where a community or friends have really been a huge support to you?
Well, my answer is easy.
Well, let's go. Okay, let me put that aside.
Oh,
Give us another one. Give us another time. You've been around for a couple of years.
what? Don't go
You're
ahead
60.
and talk.
Oh, we're not even going to.
I was going to go right to the fire.
I know the fire. We know the fire.
Well-
it's not the only one. Have you got one?
Well, I got one that's not as touching as that one is, but
It's personal.
I mean,
Go ahead.
when I was in college, we got into some pretty tough courses where there was tons of calculations, and there was a group of 5 of us that got together every Tuesday and Thursday night at 9 o'clock, and we met in this building in this room, and we'd go through our homework and
Yep.
everything. And if you did it by yourself, I mean, these were long equations that you had to plug and chug and go through. And if you hit one key wrong on your calculator, you'd go through this process that would take 15 minutes, and you'd get the wrong answer, and you wouldn't even know whether you got the wrong
Yeah.
answer or not, or that you did it right or wrong. But if you had 5 people doing the same problem at the same time, if 3 people got exactly the same answer, you knew that was the right answer. And if somebody didn't grasp the concept and didn't understand it, there was somebody else who understood it fully, and they could, educate. If I didn't know, they could educate me and help me in areas where I was unsure, and likewise, if they were unsure, I could help them, and it helped all of us, and we all excelled because it forced me anyways to get my homework done on time. It forced me to understand it, because you couldn't participate unless you understood it. But I mean, the friendships that it developed, so we're talking about friendships, is very long term.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's
And
great
that was one
about
of the things that
college.
helped me get through college.
Sure.
And in college, when I tried doing it on my own at my own speed, that's when I turned the corner and things really took off. And after that, school was easy because I did my homework. I understood everything. I followed, what was going on, and when I went to take a test, it was a piece of cake. So after that, but before that, I had difficulty because I didn't do things on time. I didn't know whether I was getting the right answers. I didn't know that I was doing it right, and friendship really helps out.
Yeah, that's all. That's
I got my ice maker fixed like that.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When it broke, I said to somebody, my ice maker's broke. I said, but I'm not worried about it. And they said, why? I said, because I got my pal Al. He'll be right in that ice maker.
He's got a guy.
All I need to say is it's going to be broken. He'll be there with a screwdriver. And he was.
Nice.
And there's ice. So I had to call him. I mean, it was a celebration. In the Star Trek movie where they say Star Trek Voyage Home, and it's where they go back and bring back the whales.
That was the first one I saw in the theater. Yeah.
Really? Okay. They bring back the whales, and when Scotty beams the whales up, he hits up Captain and he says, "Captain, there be whales." And I called Alan.
You mean the animals, whales?
Whales.
Whales.
Yeah.
There be whales.
There be whales.
Is that what he says?
And, yeah, because
You remember that?
He transported them from the ocean.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
Yeah, to the ship.
Beamed them up. They put water in the ship.
Yeah, they had
An aquarium in the ship?
Oh yeah, they had water and everything. They went into a place that made plexiglass, and Scotty did his magic little thing on the computer and showed them a whole new, I don't want to use the word species, but class of strength that a thin layer of plexiglass could provide. So it was a whole nother, I want to say, helix.
And they went in time. They went back in time.
Yes, they went back in time.
Yeah.
Spock did that.
I don't remember how they did that. Yeah.
Spock and his
I saw it once
calculations.
when I was 8 years
Yeah,
old.
well, and see, because when that all happened, they were on a Klingon ship and not on a
Oh, I
starship.
didn't remember that.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were on a Klingon ship.
All right.
Klingons had crashed the Starship Enterprise.
Oh.
So they were on a Klingon ship. And remember, they landed in the park in San Francisco, and that's where they took the
I
whales
didn't remember
from.
where, but I remember that. Yeah, that's right. There was in a park. Yeah.
Yeah. And that one girl, jumped with Jim,
Don't remember that.
Captain Kirk, and went into and went back in time to their time.
Didn't remember
But
that. Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But I don't remember why I was.
I don't remember where we got to
Oh, there be whales.
There be whales. There be
Because
ice.
I called him and said, "Al, there be ice."
there be ice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the big thing to take out of this is we just have to be encouraged to reach out to other people and take that leap. Take that leap of faith. Be spontaneous, because open yourself up a little bit instead of staying in your own little corner. And it's amazing if the person next to you, you think that, well, they're far more educated than you are, or they know more than you do, or they're better talkers than you are, or it doesn't matter. Like you said, you sat next to the CEO of Costco and ended up having dinner with him.
Yep.
And that's some of, one of my friends was a pretty high executive at Corning Glass, and I like him because I see a lot of CEOs, they seem like stuffed shirts, and they're in a different class, and you'd never be able to have a
different
conversation.
league, yeah.
They're in a different league than you are. I mean, that's when like last week when I talked about being a pastor. Some people in the congregation think that the pastor is in a different league, and that there's only certain things you can talk to them about,
Yeah.
and you can't open up. Well, it doesn't matter who's sitting next to you.
No.
You need to reach out and
Although-
have a conversation, and just get about nothing. It doesn't have to be about anything specific.
A lot of people have a fear of asking for help in a time of need. They have a fear of asking for help.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I was in a place where I had no other choice but to ask for help that I did. And it was amazing the amount of help that I got just from in this church. It was amazing. And so you have to be willing. You have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone sometimes.
yeah. Be willing to ask. Be willing to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't asked me to dinner yet.
No, I haven't. I haven't been home for dinner yet.
Well, I mean, for a few...
You want to come over tonight? Hey, we're gonna transition to some music in a second. I see you've got a list of.
That has nothing to do with you.
Okay, all right. So, got church?
Come on here on Sunday.
We'd love.
That's great.
We would love to be.
Come on Wednesday. It's great on Wednesday.
Befriend you, draw you, help you to connect with Jesus and grow in your faith. Sundays at 8:30 and 11, and this Sunday worship. We got worship on Sunday.
We got worship.
We've got this coming weekend. Yeah, this coming weekend is Oktoberfest in Canonsburg.
Yes, in Canonsburg.
So, you know what?
Come to church.
Come to church on Sunday.
Go to Oktoberfest.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks for coming. Come again real soon.
All right.
Part 2 coming up with music.
Bye-bye now.
We'll be on time next week.
Well, kind of.